Hello. There's a number of people who are stuck in the news at the moment. Boris is back there again. Just when you thought that it was safe to close the door of number 10, outpour more sentences, in this case, more text messages, which apparently weren't handed to Lord Gate when he was doing his initial investigation into who paid for what in the refurbishing of the flat. It's astonishing how uncontrolled all this is. And at the same time, Mark Drakeford, the fellow from Wales, is castigating Boris for not protecting England in the same way that Wales is protected against the rise and the spread of COVID. He says that Boris hasn't got control of his cabinet, that he is politically paralysed, that he's held to ransom by the cabinet who don't want another lockdown, who don't want any further regulations. It's very worrying. There's a sort of constant question mark hanging over Boris's head. Now, this issue about the texts, what's going on there? Lord Gate, of course, is peeved. He said that Boris's texts are plainly unsatisfactory, but he's still exonerated Boris for not breaking the ministerial code. Why is it important? If somebody provides cash for Boris to refurbish the flat at number 10, why is it important? Because that person might then have undue access to the Prime Minister, to the Cabinet, to government, and this would be unfair. So the idea, apparently, was that Boris and the Conservative Party were to set up a blind trust to pay for the renovation of the flat and ensure there was not undue influence that was sought or that was provided. But in the end, the person who was administering this blind trust, Lord Brownlow, turned out to produce the cash himself. And Boris, in turn, paid the entire lump sum back. Now, Boris, of course, he is dogged by problems with money. Why? I mean, he's not poorly paid. Why? Because he's got so many marriages, so many divorces, so many children who presumably all have a right to a privileged education, as he had. So there's this drain on his resources. No matter what one pays Boris, he's going to need more because he seems to have a problem in the trouser department with just siring children. He seems to be, you only have to look at him, and you are with child, it seems. But there we are. That's Boris's penchant for spreading the word, let's say, and so it's a little bit of a problem. So Boris needs money. So Boris can't necessarily do it all himself. But on the other hand, let's just look at it from the other side. Would we want our Prime Minister to be inhabiting the flat that was left for him by Mrs. May? Because we've actually seen that flat now. Well, it's a symphony in ochre and beige decor. Presumably beloved by Mrs. May, who, as we know, has a particular interest in caravanning and running through ripened wheat fields. So presumably the ochre colour scheme reflects her penchant for farming in the autumn. I must say I am inclined to think Boris is right to want some sort of redecoration, but I don't see why a lick of paint from a Dulux supplier wouldn't have been enough. The other thing about Mrs. May's colour coding, I think, is that it sort of reflects her desire to go back to the 1970s when maybe things were safe for her. Poor dear. So the influence of Mrs. May continues even to this day. We just cannot get rid of her. But there we are. There we are. Poor Mrs. May, poor Boris. Do follow the channel. Do leave your comments if you have any great ideas about decor. I must say, we have heard that the decor in number 10 is now really sort of over the top. I would be very interested to see what Boris's choice of decor might be. I think it might be rather worse than Mrs. May's. I don't see him as a person of great taste, but there we are. There we are, poor Boris. Do follow the channel, do ring the bell. I'm sure everybody would enjoy that bell ringing.